Hello, everyone. For several days now, I've been finding it increasingly difficult to be on Twitter all day. I know there are many people who are waiting for my reports every day, and I've been hinting that I've been working on a new way to share my thoughts with you. I thought I'll record my report by voice this time, maybe not daily, but regularly enough. I think that it might make it easier for me to keep it up and perhaps easier to share. Anyway, I want to start with a quick review of positions on the ground. It seems that Gaddafi has pretty much absorbed the initial shock of losing most of the country and has started a counteroffensive. And it seems that the more international pressure mounts and the more there's talk about some kind of military support on the side of the rebels, he tries to step up the pace and capture as much territory and strategic oil installations as possible. Anything or something that he can negotiate on or use to apply political or economic pressure. On the Eastern Front, the revolutionaries had waged a mostly improvised campaign. When they went all the way to Bin Jawad, it wasn't a calculated or a planned military campaign, but rather, volunteers rushing in with lots of zeal, lots of passion and courage, overwhelming Gaddafi's troops in the region. Obviously, Gaddafi managed to regroup and recollect his forces and devise a military strategy for a counterattack, and we know that he's taken back everything up to Brega. Recently, it seems that the revolutionaries have regrouped between Ajdabiya and Brega. It seems to be contested, even though both sides are claiming control over it. They seem to have regained some initiative over there, the revolutionaries, especially with reports of an ambush recently that led to 20 to 30 Gaddafi troops dead and a similar number captured along with their weapons and vehicles. There have been airstrikes on Ajdabiya, but they don't seem to be targeting the city itself, but rather the main road that links it to Brega, perhaps to stop reinforcements or discourage volunteers to rush in, or stop supplies from passing towards the front. Now, it seems to me that the revolutionaries aren't very stubborn about holding Brega either. I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to abandon it for the sake of strategy or a more orderly retreat. It actually pleases me to see that the revolutionaries did not try to stubbornly hold on to those territories that they recently withdrew from. I would have expected a passionate volunteer army to try to hold on and fight street to street until the last one of them falls. But from the casualty figures, you get a hint that the retreat was more or less organized. It wasn't a rout, so to speak. I do get a lot of reports of a military nature, of course, which I cannot reveal for obvious reasons. I know that in a moment of despair we might want to hear some good news, but I really can't reveal such plans or positions or targets, of course. I hope you understand that. Moving to the Western Front, resistance at Az-Zawiya pretty much ran out of ammo, literally speaking. It's still a rebellious city whose population are completely against Gaddafi and see his troops as occupying force. I would say the situation is likely to flare up again there. However, you have to keep in mind that in Tripoli and surrounding metropolitan areas, life is pretty much at a standstill. You have arrests, disappearances, a total information blackout. People are living in a state of terror. There are no shops open. Only food and drug shops would be open and mostly cleared out. No supplies. Kids aren't going to school. This really contrasts very sharply with the life as is going on in the liberated eastern cities, which is pretty much normal. Now, I know there are people who are calling Az-Zawiya a victory for Gaddafi or a defeat for the revolutionaries. But then again, for a professional elite army, Khamis Brigade is supposed to be an elite battalion. For an elite army to continuously fail to take a small blockaded city that's under constant bombardment from air and land and sea, and then again a city that's defended by a vastly outgunned volunteer army, mostly by citizens, who eventually couldn't go on for lack of ammo. And for this to go on for 2 weeks, I wouldn't exactly call this a victory. Just as I expected earlier when Az-Zawiya was being savagely bombed last week, I had tweeted saying that if the people around Az-Zawiya did not come to its aid, it would be their turn soon. And it seems that this is being confirmed right now. It seems that Gaddafi has started bombing Zwara, which is, it's on the road. It's actually the last big city between Tripoli and the Tunisian border. It seems he's trying to assert control over a strip of land including Tripoli, and going all the way to the Tunisian border. Um, so he can present himself as holding a contiguous territory rather than isolated pockets of control. There are also reports that he's been bombing some areas of Bani Walid. Bani Walid, as we know, is the capital of the Warfalla, which is Libya's largest tribe. The tribe had joined the revolution, but they opted not to move forward and to take defensive positions within their city instead. Now, the location of Bani Walid makes it perfect for the revolutionaries to attack supply lines from Tripoli to Sirte or further on. So this is a significant development that he's trying to crack down on them over there. Misrata has been under constant attack, as we know. It seems it's better defended than Az-Zawiya. It's not blockaded since they have the sea behind them and their port is still functional. And it seems that defenders over there are more prepared. They have more guns and probably more ammo. And it seems that they have more professional soldiers among them. At the same time, it seems that the battle for Misrata is taking its toll on Gaddafi's forces. There have been rumors of defections, reports of infighting, especially between the Hamza and the Khamis brigades. There are reports of many soldiers joining the resistance in the city. So it doesn't seem to be going well for Gaddafi over there. Let's hope it stays that way, of course. Now, moving to the political front. Now, in my opinion, events on the political front are every bit as important as what's happening on the ground. Recently, there have been people who are very skeptical or very critical about political pressure, but I'd like to remind you that in politics, a lot goes on behind the scenes. You don't see it, although it's going on. So don't confuse the statement with a position. We know that the Arab League called for a no-fly zone. America declared its backing of it, as well as Britain, France. Russia used to be previously flat-out opposed to a no-fly zone, but now it's requesting further info about the Arab League's proposal, which means that it seems to be softening its position. Russia, of course, took an additional step of banning Gaddafi's family from entering the country or having any financial transactions in Russia. For a while now, we've been suspecting that Gaddafi sends some of his aides or close associates to Russia to procure weapons and ammo. And we hope that this step by Russia makes it a little bit more difficult for him to supply his army. As for the recognition for the NTC, the National Transitional Council, the body which is representing the revolutionaries. Now, after the Arab League declared Gaddafi's regime to be not legitimate, there are now rumors that Egypt and the GCC bloc, the GCC countries, are very close to officially recognizing the NTC. It also seems that Britain and USA are preparing for such a move. Now, to recap, and just to add a little bit of notes, my own notes, I doubt that Gaddafi, if we look at the ground situation, I doubt that he will try to take any expeditions into the eastern cities. I think his strategic objective is to keep his hands on the oil installations and to have a large buffer zone around Sirte. Now, he might attempt airstrikes or brief incursions, but I doubt he'll try to march on one of the cities. It's clear that Gaddafi is under a kind of political and economic blockade. He's delegitimized both inside Libya and in most of the world, including the Arab world and the West. I don't know how easy it is for him to bring in more ammo and supplies and weapons, but I can't imagine that it's getting any easier. He's definitely losing ability there. I'd like to say that I've been seeing a tendency among certain spokespersons of the revolution and some sympathizers as well, a tendency to hinge all hopes on foreign, especially Western intervention. And I dislike this tendency. I don't respect it much. This is the revolution of the Libyan people, and this is going to start and end with them. A little bit about what to expect, what I expect to be happening. It seems that revolutionaries are gaining political ground very fast. I expect it to accelerate further. Militarily, they remain an untrained, unprofessional force, albeit with lots of zeal and courage. I believe they need to become an army. They need to get trained, organized, and armed. This is, of course, the responsibility of the NTC, which has military advisors from the ex-Libyan army, the rumor to have Western military consultants as well. There are ways in which they can procure weapons, either via, whether by foreign support or by their own means. They should do everything possible to do that. They are fighting a demotivated army, a beleaguered army, a delegitimized army, but an army nonetheless, one that vastly outguns them. And I'm sure that if the guns on both sides become more or less equal, this will be over very fast. Gaddafi's forces will crumble. Anyway, that's my report for today. Thank you very much.